So coming to the support of Nupur Sharma was this Dutch Member of Parliament, Geert Wilders. And now he's been at the receiving end of threats that have been bombarded at him. He now speaks to our Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan. This is an exclusive conversation. And Wilders is saying that Nupur Sharma said nothing wrong. And he's also questioned India's diplomatic stand over this controversy. Listen in to this exclusive conversation.
One of the biggest controversies today is to do with the remarks made by Bharatiya Janata Party spokespersons with regards to Prophet Muhammad, which has invited a lot of trouble for India in many ways and one from the Islamic world. But there is one lawmaker who has come out in support of Nupur Sharma. I'm talking about Dutch MP Geert Wilders, who's come out and said that she should not be apologetic. In fact, nor should India. Mr. Wilders, thank you so much for joining us here in India Today. Why do you say what you say? Why have you come out in support of Nupur Sharma? And then we'll talk about the ramifications you've faced because of your statement.
Yes. Well, first, it's a pleasure to be on your show today. And indeed, I support Nupur Sharma because I believe that nobody should be punished or apologize for speaking the truth. And we might like it, we might dislike it, but she spoke the truth about Muhammad. And it's so unfair for people who speak the truth, maybe on such an issue, that her party, Muslims threaten her with their life, and especially Islamic countries threaten India, you know, also with boycotts and ask for excuses to be made. And I believe that's really ridiculous. We should never give in to such a threat, especially where most, if not all, of the Islamic countries are the biggest hypocrites on earth. You know, look at their track record when it comes to human rights. They have the worst track record of human rights, whether it's about freedom or women or journalists like yourself or Jews or Christians or Hindus. And they get the worst treatment in their own country. So they are hypocrites. They should not criticize India or any other democracy. India is a democracy, unlike most of the Islamic countries. They should be criticized. They should not criticize us. We should criticize them.
Right, but the issue over here, again, Mr. Wilders, is a little sensitive one. It's not about who's speaking truth or not. It is also about the manner in which one speaks. Now, demeaning language against any religion should not be accepted in public platforms, especially when one holds a very responsible position, don't you think?
Oh, you know, one can have a different taste, whether it was sophisticated or not. And everybody is free. Every viewer is free to decide it themselves. But listen, freedom is at stake. The Netherlands, my own country, I'm the leader of the biggest opposition party in Holland, but also India, we are both democracies. And democracies means that we have a rule of law, that we have freedom, that we have courts who can decide if we overstepped the mark, and not mobs who threaten to kill somebody, not other countries who try to interfere in the sovereignty of the state of India. You are, unlike them, a democracy. And you can like, once again, or dislike what she says, but she has the right to speak out. And we should not, because once again, we will lose everything. We will lose our freedom of speech. We will lose our dignity. And we have values under which freedom of speech is maybe one of the most important ones. And I don't think, no, that people who are sensible, or countries that are sensible, who have, once again, the worst track record of human rights themselves, should tell us, order us what to do and demand excuses if we speak the truth. That is not how a democracy works. If they disagree with her, they can take her to court in India, and the judge will decide. That is how a democracy works, not by threats to die or anything else.
You speak about democracy. We'll talk about that a little more. But before that, let me ask you about what you yourself have faced. Now, after your statements and your tweets, you yourself have received death threats. Is that correct? What really happened?
Yes. No, I did. In the last few days, since I supported Mrs. Nupur Sharma, I got many death threats from Muslims. Then again, you know, 17 years ago, I got already fatwas for making a movie, fitna, about the Quran from Al-Qaeda, from the Pakistani Taliban. And I left my house 70 years ago and haven't been home since. You know, I lived with my wife in army barracks and prison cells just to be safe. I know what I'm talking about. I know what Mrs. Sharma will probably have to face. She will probably lose her freedom and her life will never be the same again. So I really, if somebody is happening things that are happening to her today, which is so unjust, I have to stand up and support her because she did nothing wrong. And I know for 70 years I lost my personal freedom. I can only move with
Could you elaborate a little? What do you mean by losing personal freedom? What really happened?
You know, I made a movie called Fitna about Quranic verses some time ago. And I criticized not Muslims, but the Islamic ideology. I make a distinction between the people and the ideology. And for that, I received fatwas from Al-Qaeda, from the Pakistani Taliban, from the TLP party in Pakistan, from many other sources. And that's why I had to leave with my wife. I had to leave my home 17 years ago. And I lived in safe houses from the government, as I do today, for 17 years, in prison cells, in army barracks, just in order to stay safe. And just for criticizing Islam, I haven't had the opportunity to walk the streets without a police detail for 17 years. So I know what it means if you speak the truth or if you criticize an ideology, which is in our values, in our democracy, possible, and it should be possible. Whether you criticize or speak about Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, it should be possible in a democracy. We have free speech. And I lost it. I lost my personal freedom, and I'm very angry that Mrs. Nupur Sharma will also lose it, and I stand up for her because she's a brave woman and she does not deserve this treatment.
Right, but Mr. Wilders, now talking about democracy, while you talk about democracy and freedom of speech, democracy also entails tolerance. Should the likes of Nupur Sharma or anyone else not be tolerant towards the other religion and at least not use demeaning language? Like, tolerance is something that one, especially in a country like India, where we have diverse cultures, we have various religions, and all of us living together. So isn't tolerance one of the most important tenets of democracy?
Yes, I fully agree with you, but I believe that we should be tolerant to the people and the ideologies that are tolerant to us. But we should stop being tolerant to the intolerant. And the worst mistake you can make is that you advocate tolerance to the intolerance. And I believe India is a tolerant country, and I hope it will stay like that. But the ideology that is intolerant is the Islamic ideology. You know, if you are speaking out against the Islamic ideology or criticizing or just stating facts, or if you are living in any Islamic nation and you want to leave Islam, you become a renegade or apostate, the penalty is death. If you are a Jew or a Christian or a Hindu or somebody with no religion, your life will be hell in any Islamic country. So I believe that we should be tolerant, yes, but we should stop being tolerant to the intolerant. So why? If she spoke only the truth about what Muhammad did, why being tolerant to the people who want to kill her, or people who ask and demand that the Indian government make excuses? Never excuse for the truth and never bow for intolerance.
Well, the fact that you also wrote about appeasement and that India is following an appeasement policy towards West Asia, that is the Middle East, they are important. Certain countries are very important partners of India and of the Netherlands. And there was a need to explain that this is not the view of the government. How is that appeasement?
Well, you know, of course, I understand, and in every nation it's the same. We also got, because of what I said, we got threats of embargoes from Saudi Arabia and Holland, and the minister went to Saudi Arabia and apologized for me. And but I understand it, but it's not correct. You know, our freedom is at stake, and we cannot bargain with our freedom. And once again, if she did something wrong, which she didn't, but imagine she did something wrong, it's for the Indian courts to decide. You are a democracy with a rule of law. It's not about Qatar or Saudi Arabia or the Egypt or any other country to tell you what to do. You are a sovereign country. So no, really, I believe that we should support her. She was heroic for speaking the truth. And I hope that India, at the end of the day, would rally around her and support her. She's a brave woman who probably lost her freedom for, if not the rest of her life, for a very long time, and she did nothing wrong. So, of course, I understand that you also have to take into account the economic issues that are at stake. But I advocate the freedom that is at stake, and don't lose your freedom for economical reasons.
Well, I don't know whether if Mr. Wilders, you've seen the whole controversy and how it blew up, but it's not just about the content; it was also about the language that was used. And if you want to raise questions and speak truth, it can be done in a certain way without using unparliamentary language. And maybe that's what caused all the consternation or the controversy. But coming back to you, you're a part of the opposition.
You don't deserve, I hope you agree with me, that even if that's true what you say, that you don't deserve a death penalty. The Indian government does not deserve to apologize just for maybe using the wrong words, but speaking the truth. I mean, that is totally out of context.
The Indian government didn't really apologize, but yes, they did send explanatory notes as soon as the protests were launched.
Yes, and I believe that she also had some ramifications from her party, that she was...
Yes, she's been suspended.
Yes, and why? What did she do wrong? I don't understand, really.
There's a huge population, Muslim population over here. Sentiments were hurt, and as a country, we need to be tolerant and ensure that in public debates, there's some decorum that is maintained. I suppose that's why the Bharatiya Janata Party suspended her, and it's the reason why Government of India, when they went and engaged West Asian countries, they could say that yes, action was taken by the party. Having said that, you yourself are a part of a very important opposition party. But should you be in government, you would have to engage the very same governments in West Asia. And then, in all probability, the situation will be a little different from, or your statements and your stand a little different from what it is today?
No, really, no. Once again, I lost my personal freedom, and that of my family, for 17 years. I haven't been home for 17 years for speaking out for freedom and against the intolerance of the Islamic ideology. I would never give in. Indeed, I'm the leader of the opposition in the parliament of our kingdom of the Netherlands, and I would never give in to threats if I did nothing wrong, if I or anybody else in Holland spoke the truth. I believe we should be supportive for those people, because those are our values. It's not threats that decide what you should say or not. We are a free country. We should not be ruled by the mob or by the intolerant. And the Netherlands, as India, is a tolerant country. We also have different people from different origin. But there is only one body that can decide whether you're right or not. This is either the voters by elections or the courts, and nobody else.
Right. Again, the fact that it is a controversy, but you have taken a stand and you stick by what you're saying, that has gotten your country also into trouble, and the government had to explain to some of the countries in West Asia. Is that so, sir?
Yes, but at the end of the day, I did not retract my words. I continued. I did not lose, but won the election many times. And I stand for what I believe in. And once again, I believe, and once again, I'm not talking about the people. I have really nothing against Muslims. There are many moderate Muslims, but there is no moderate Islam. And I believe that the Islam and democracy are really incompatible, and we should not give in to a totalitarian ideology that wants to dominate any society, that you are not allowed to leave and you get the penalty of death. That is not something that we should be tolerant about. So my life, my political life, is based on defending freedom, and Islamic intolerance, unfortunately, is not to be combined with those kind of principles, our values of freedom and democracy.
On that note, Mr. Geert Wilders, many thanks for joining us here on India Today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.